I'm sheepish to say you got robbed, but your childhood was working. You were.
But
you
that
had
was
to
by
jump.
choice.
Yeah.
I have a lot of like kid actor friends that was not their choice. Like their parents put them in it. And I begged like a lot. Like it took the first time my mom ever brought me out to, and we won't go down this rabbit hole because that's a whole thing. But the first time my mom brought me out to California was after a lot of begging, after I kind of reached my peak in Texas acting. And she thought it was going to be a 2-month vacation at the infamous Oakwood. And then
Oakwood is a place where a lot of actors from out of town go there because it's
now
month to month and also furnished.
Yes, it's now been renamed, and it was like at the peak of like Frankie Muniz driving his cool cars there, and like I think Mitchell Musso was there at the time, and
anybody who was anybody was there.
All the child actors were there. It was just ridiculous. But yeah, she thought it would be like 2 months, and that would be it. And then we joke that I just kept getting work, and she kept having to come back.
There was a bit I wanted to say this where everybody's cheersing right with their cups and everything, and then Selena breaks hers.
Yeah,
and this was a moment where I was like, oh, she did this really well, and this was another moment where I was like, oh, the timing is happening.
Yeah.
So she had the cup and she kind of just like sauntered over to the plant and like threw the rest of the cup in the plant, which I thought was so funny.
Yeah, it was a great moment.
I mean,
I like that one too.
It's not a big thing, but it was done funny.
But but it's those small moments that like are so impactful, that are so funny. It's like sometimes like, and that was what I liked too about our show is because I think the traditional Disney Channel way is to go real big. And I think what the special moments that we found were the smaller ones like that. To toss the teacup.
You have to have a range. You have to have there's a cadence and a tempo, I always say to a sitcom. So there's, there is those quiet moments. It's a lot of setup, jokes, setup, joke, setup, joke.
But it's also diverting expectation. So if your audience starts to expect the setup joke, you've got to divert it and surprise them.
Yes.
And what you were saying too of the fact that like, when you know your character so well, which that was so Alex to throw the teacup.
Right, of course. So the truth spell happens. So everybody's telling the truth.
Yes, and which I love.
And at one point, I loved all that. You're like, I hate you. Your nose is not as good as mine.
Yeah, with all like those nose jobs.
Everybody just loathed each other.
Yeah.
And there was so-and-so from Spanish or something.
Yes, yeah.
She looked like she was 85 years old. I mean, she was not a high school
Be
student.
nice.
Not 85. I mean.
But I think she was our age though.
I don't know, Jen.
Well, okay,
she looked pretty grown up.
But there's some people, I'm sorry. Sometimes I look at old like reality show episodes and they're like, she's 19. And I'm like, I've never looked like that. I've never looked like I wished at 19 that I looked like an adult like that.
Well, but
that
a
girl
lot of
looked,
times,
you know what I mean?
and some people don't
just
know
look
this,
different.
but you hire kids sometimes older to play younger.
I think she was
because
maybe
you can work
like,
them longer.
Yes, I think she was maybe like 20 or something.
That's old for high school. That's okay.
I don't know.
She seemed old. Whatever. She
okay.
was funny. She was nice, but she was the only one who, in the truth, moment.
Yeah, was like, I'm 45.
But she said, "I hope this is not one of those loser parties. I've been to 6 of
I
them
know.
this year."
Oh God!
So sad.
I was so like honestly the whole like loser party thing just was so mean and so like Josie Grossi and so from like Never Been Kissed and just so it just broke my heart.
But good because I have 2 daughters and some of those younger girls can be really fucking mean.
Even I remember, so coming from Texas, it's football and cheerleading. And if you do anything else, you might as well be dead. Like football and cheerleading is all it's about in Texas. People were like, don't you love Friday Night Lights? I'm like, no, I lived it.
Did you ever try to do it?
Once. And this is why I'm bringing this story up about just how mean they can be. I was in grade school because I stopped going to school when I was in 5th grade. And I'll wrap this up because I know this is not about wizards at all, but it is pertinent, I swear. But so these girls that were never nice to me, to the point of like I would show, like one was a neighbor and she's like, we don't want her at the slumber party when I was like returning a video and like slammed the door in my face. Like that's shit. Like girls are crazy when it comes to like the mean girl nonsense. But anyway, so they came up to me and were super nice all of a sudden, kind of like Gigi is in this episode. And they were like, you should try out for cheerleading. You'd be so good. And I was like, me. And to me, I'm like, yeah, it's kind of performing. Maybe I should. So I got all ready to try out. Come to find out, they wanted me to try out because there was something about if there was a certain number of people, then one person would get cut. And they wanted this other girl, they didn't want to be on the cheerleading squad. But if I didn't show up, then she would automatically be on the cheerleading squad. So I found that out the night before and I went, fuck you guys. And so I didn't show up at the last minute. So then everybody made it and it really pissed them off. And so, because this one girl, they didn't want to be on the cheerleading squad. And I was like, Bring It On was fun, but I'm good. I don't need to be on the
I did enjoy Bring It On. I would say that. But that's terrible and I hate those people.
But yeah, no, but the thing is like, it is sad because I do agree with you. Like the sad thing is like a loser T isolating one person, pointing out like ganging up on people. Sadly, that is a reality.
Yeah. And interesting, our show, smartphones started during our show.
Yeah.
Twitter later on started during our show. But during this episode, there's no smartphones. There's no pictures being taken. Yeah. There's no humiliation of the masses. Which this would have all
been like on a video.
Right? It would have been very different.
Yeah.
I'm glad you didn't go, by the way, to the cheerleading. That's good.
Me too.
So to think about there's a suspense of disbelief when you're doing a sitcom.
Yeah.
So Gigi now gets her own. So they're like, what do you want to do with that cake? So Gigi, the actress, is just standing there. And her friend is like, I want to eat the cake. Oh, what's the second thing you want to do? Oh, I want to put it in her face.
And she just doesn't go anywhere.
And Gigi just stands there and takes it. Doesn't even put her arms up or anything, which is just so silly.
Yeah.
And Gigi's friend puts the cake in her face so hard. It's like she knocked her down.
Yeah,
she's like, somebody probably said, don't you mess up. You know what I mean? Like you get that cake in her face.
But there was a lot of pressure whenever there was like, bits like that because they were like, okay, you only have 2 shots at this because we only have 2 matches of the wardrobe. And,
right. Or 1 shot because she put it in her face and I didn't see anything change.
Rough.
I felt bad for her. And she had to like get, her things off her.
Skylar Samuels, who played Gigi, and she... Samuels, right? She took it like a champ.
She did a great job. I'm sorry that she wasn't on more episodes.
I know.
And I said this to you earlier, but I am fine with what happened. But when Selena gives you the loser crown to put it on her, I almost was like, maybe Harper won't do that. Maybe she'll be
the better person.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, Gigi I hated Gigi. The character is just mean. It's all bullies. So, let her get her own,
Yeah, it would, and I think that's like kind of circling back to what I was talking about of how like at that time, they're still kind of finding their character, not in like their character on the show, but their character of like being a person. Right. And I think if it was later in the show, I think we would have been more realized in that. But I think at that time, like they're still figuring out who they are and still figuring out like, hey, is it worth stooping to the same level?
Right.
And at that point, it's like, I don't think they were as self-actualized to not stoop to the same level to give her the crown. Maybe I'm thinking about it too much.
I'm thinking about too much too. But I just was like, oh, there was an opportunity for that to happen, which is fine.
Yeah.
And I have to talk about now the
chandelier.
Now,
which by the way, was, what my memory of the chandelier, sorry to cut you off.
No, tell me.
My memory of the chandelier is it was made out of PVC pipe and we were on a green screen, which by the way, looking back at it now, the green screen is so like, because the scale is all off. The scale is completely so off.
Even the far shot of the swinging.
We're like the size of the whole room.
The single shot, it's not swinging in the same kind of dimension.
It's a mess. But all I remember is, because I didn't think about not locking my elbows. So I locked my elbows when we did it and my arms hurt so bad. So every time I look back at that scene, all I can think about is how much my arms hurt so bad and how, as an actor, I just literally was like, don't fall. Don't let go.
Were you harnessed in? Were you?
No, because we were on like an apple box, which is a little box that you stand on. It truly is like a box. Because I think back in the day it used to hold apples, and they would flip it upside down and they would just use it. I think that's why it's called an apple box. It's like a lavalier mic, like whatever. I won't go into that. That's like 1920s business. But anyway, so we would like get off an apple box and then just hold on to this PVC pipe. And we were only like a foot off the ground. So there was no need for harnesses, but it was enough
so you weren't high.
That it was like gravity still pulling on you and like all that kind of stuff.
On another episode, I had said that, the special effects were a little,
well, we got there.
They were,
it took time.
They were well done. And you actually said there wasn't a lot of time for the turnaround, and there wasn't. and
budget.
Yeah, and budget as well. But I mean, I have to give a shout out to everyone who dealt with the special effects.
Yeah.
They did a really good job, and our advancement in what we were capable of doing as a business changed.
Thanks so much for watching that clip of Wizards of Waverly Pod. If you want the full episode, head over to our Wizards of Waverly Pod YouTube channel at the link in the description. And if you just can't get enough and you want exclusive weekly bonus content, join our Patreon now. There's a link in the description for that too. Imagine that. Thanks for tuning in.